Welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast. This is your co-host, John Duncan, and I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Darian Smith. Darian,
Yo,
how's it going, man? You doing all right?
yeah, man, not sick anymore. I feel like I can talk and think clearly, so we having
Good,
a good day here.
good. Well, guys, with this Thursday being Thanksgiving, we just want to wish all of our Blazer Victory Podcast listeners a happy Thanksgiving, whether you're listening to us in the car right now, driving to a family function, or driving to a friend's house, or just listening on your phone while working out. We just want to thank you so much for just helping the Blazer Victory Podcast be so successful. And also, y'all know I got to do a merch plug. So for 1 week only, through the end of Cyber Monday, next Monday, so through Tuesday, we have marked our Blazer Victory Podcast hoodies at a discount. And you can go to storefrontier.com/blazerpod, or just click the link in your podcast description, and that will take you right there. We've marked them down $5 for 1 week only. So hopefully we can get a couple of you guys or gals to buy a hoodie or two and help rep the show and support us.
Yeah, man, in this economy filled with inflation,
Yes.
we have been able to knock that down $5. Round of applause for John for that humanitarian, that humanitarian effort right there. But yeah, man, we would really appreciate the support because I think having a hoodie on and you walking around with it, I think it's just the people seeing it and being able to, oh, what's that? Blazer Victory Podcast, and they might not even say anything to you. They might just want to check it out, especially if they're interested in the Blazers. So I think it's a very kind of grassroots way to help the podcast. So if you can, we would love that.
Definitely. And I wish that I could have marked down the shirts as well, but we've got those as low as we can't go to where we don't lose money. So we've got the shirts still at $20, but definitely get you a white, gray, or black, or all the above Blazer Victory Podcast logo hoodie at just $30 for 1 week only. So again, go to storefrontier.com/blazerpod, or just click the link in your podcast description. Now that we got that out of the way, Darian, there was a game in Baton Rouge this Saturday night. And honestly, I was able to attend the game. The first quarter was pretty good. Outside of that, it wasn't as good. But you know what? I got to give BV a lot of credit, Bryant Vincent. I thought the game plan was good, especially on the offensive side of the ball when we came out, not just running it down their throat. I guess we couldn't run it down the whole game. But, we were, doing slant passes. We were doing tight end slip out. We were doing some great stuff. And Dylan was on point, really, that first half. And then the second half, I still thought it was a well-called game on the offensive side of the ball, but just couldn't make the catches and I guess couldn't execute. I think that's the big word. We just couldn't execute. And let's face it, LSU's number 6 for a reason. Beat us 41-10. I don't know if I've seen our defense look that bad since the Georgia game last year. But then again, they've just got dudes on Jaden Daniels. Neighbors. They've just got some dudes on there. And, I know we said one of these days UAB is going to be competitive in a Power 5 game. I feel it, and I can promise Blazer fans that one day we will be competitive in a Power 5 game. But let's be real. Hey, we got that paycheck. Let's move on to Ruston and try to get bowl eligible.
Yeah, it's Power 5 game is Boston College. Yeah, I think we can probably beat Boston College.
Right.
Like that, but this LSU team,
God,
they were just really good on offense. And I think they had too many options or too many things they could do. They had so much speed at receiver. They had speed and accuracy at quarterback. They had physicality at the offensive lineman, and they had running backs that was physical as well. They executed well. They're a team with playoff championship aspirations. We all know what they are on defense, so we don't even have to go to that. And then I think BV did call a good game. I was just looking at process over results that game, to be honest, and I was good. Yeah. It was good to see us show that trust in Dylan. It was good to see him execute against that talent. It was good to see the offensive line hold up a lot. You know, they did. I think Sidney Wells
and only 2 false starts too. I think only 2. So hey,
yeah,
kudos.
and I think those 2 false starts, you know, they kind of in the first half they killed those drives, but it was only 2 of them. We've been plagued with them all year, you know.
Right.
So, it was a well called game. It was good getting the tight end involved early. It was good just mixing it up and not just trying to force the run. When we have a good quarterback, I mean, we weren't going to be able to run against LSU like that. I don't know why people was complaining. Like,
right.
No, this isn't you know, a CUSA team. This is one of the best rush defense. This is the best rush defense we played all year. We weren't running for over 100 on them. That just wasn't going to happen. But we caught them off guard. We was able to get some good passes in, get some good experiences. Good experience for some young receivers like Fred Farrier and Brody Dalton and a lot of guys that was going to be back next year.
Dallas Payne too, yeah.
Dallas Payne, like we got some good experience to get some good talent, a good will coach playoff team, you know. So I'm not mad at that game. Our tempo again was good, you know. I think we competed. I am. This is the first game I was a little disappointed in Coach Reeves.
Yeah.
Because I felt like we were too vanilla. I was like, we're not giving our defense a chance. Like, we can't play them like we play freaking Middle Tennessee. Like, let's take chances. If we're going to get beat, man, if they're going to bomb us for 75 yards or something, let them. But shoot, send some pressure. Like, we're going to try. Let's try. But, like, lining up, playing them vanilla, we just asking to get beat. I felt like we should have tried to scheme a way to have an advantage on defense. I'm not a defensive coordinator. He probably was just trying to drag it out to the fourth quarter. Let's just see if we can, you know, slow them down and at least make them work for it, not just score like they did in Georgia. So I get it to a degree. So, yeah, hey, man, it came and went. Here we are.
Definitely. And, hey, I mean, you know, 41-10, I mean, I guess, you know, it was a loss, but I don't think LSU beat UAB as bad as I think New Orleans beat me after Friday night. So, hey, man, for a minute I was like, am I gonna be able to drive over to Baton Rouge? But hey, I was there. Weather was awful. I mean, I don't know how it looked on TV, but it was cold. It was just raining off and on. It was pretty miserable. But I still enjoyed Baton Rouge. You know, Tiger Stadium was awesome, even though it was only half filled up, I guess, because LSU fans didn't want to be there either. But I mean, yeah, definitely. Just another Power 5, get the paycheck and move on. And guys, in a few minutes, we will roll our interview that we had with Evan Spencer from Go Tech Please Don't Die and Bleed Tech Blue. Give Evan a follow on Twitter at Evan R. Spencer and give Go Tech Please Don't Die a follow at Go Tech PLSDNTDIE. I should be able to go on their podcast to discuss UAB, I believe Tuesday evening, so they'll probably have that up Wednesday sometime, Wednesday or Thursday. But definitely go give them a listen to see what they have to say about previewing the UAB Louisiana Tech matchup. But I guess, Darian, we can go ahead and preview La Tech a little bit. You know, that was a great interview that we had with Evan, so we're not going to say a whole lot because he goes over a lot of information in that interview. But, I mean, let's face it, and this is something Evan even said, this is not a good Louisiana Tech team. They're coming into this matchup 3-8, 2-5 in Conference USA play. This game will be Saturday. I guess I should have started up. This Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. This will be televised on CBS Sports Network. But I mean, Vegas thinks this is going to be an ugly game as well, as right now UAB is favored by 17.5 points. I mean, this Louisiana Tech team, Darian, on the defensive side of the ball, they're giving up over 228 rush yards per game.
Yikes. So,
you know, Debo and Skull are licking their chops right now heading into this game.
Yeah, this is the game we want to be like. We don't want all the stuff that we was pining for. Like, oh, let's mix it up. Nah, run the ball, play action. You know, we need to be that team. Just with faster tempo. That's it. Like the tempo that we've been going at, and none of the penalties. So if we be the regular UAB team that we can be, like, we run it, and they keep, they bring pressure or whatever, and we just bomb it on them because we can throw the ball. Now, I feel like we can. But, yeah, we just run the ball on them, man. Let Debo and Skull go crazy, man. 200 yards each, like.
Yes.
And, I know we on the road. We haven't won on the road, so we still have to prove that. But this isn't early on in the season, UAB. This is a well season, and we've seen all the games the past 5 games or so, 4 or 5 games. We've seen a lot of more better rhythm on offense, especially with the coaching staff. And yeah, man, I'm expecting us to win big.
Yeah, me too. And we'll get into those predictions in just a minute or two. But I mean, La Tech, I mentioned they're 3-8. They have not won on the road this year. Just like UAB. UAB's 0-5 on the road. La Tech is 3-1 at home. And in those 3 wins, they forced 3 or more turnovers in those games. So basically the key to the game is just what Darian just said, get Debo and Skull going, mix up play calling to allow Dylan Hopkins to be able to get some good throws and get the wide receivers and tight ends in rhythm. But, I mean, real key is just do not turn the ball over. And, hey, even looking at LSU, Darian, they didn't turn over one time against LSU.
Exactly. I think that was the key thing. Gets all this speed on defense. Harold Perkins and Ojulari, that pass rush, we held up well. Kadeem Telford did really well that game at left tackle. I think he proved to some scouts he could, play on that level. But yeah, we didn't have no turnovers. For the personnel and talent disadvantage, Dylan made good decisions. He didn't put us in bad positions. Our running backs held on to the ball. We played like that. If we take that mindset, just flip the passing and the running, like more running instead of passing in this game, I think we should win big.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's either going to be a UAB, like, blows out La Tech or UAB just straight up loses. Like, I don't like – UAB has more, motivation going into this game to try to get to that 6th win to be bowl eligible. La Tech is already not eligible for a bowl. They're 3-8. The best they can do is 4-8, so they will be packing up their season regardless, win or lose this next game. But UAB's got something to play for, and that's something that, Monday morning in Coach Vincent's weekly press conference. I mean, Sidney Wells came up to the stand, excuse me, and said, that he wants to play for a bowl game. These seniors that have fought their butts off, for this program, like, they want to go out, one more game and go out in style. And I think, BV and the team deserves it. So I just hope that, the team shows up focused and ready for a battle because let's face it, La Tech and UAB, I don't know if they're quote unquote rivals, but I mean, these games are always close and they do get chippy. So I expect La Tech to show up early on at least.
Right. You're right. Yeah, they're football players at the end of the day. I cut all of that other stuff out. Like, if you're a football player, you come in to just play football. I mean, I say it all the time. This stuff you do when you little kids, man. We've been doing this since yay high. So you're going to come out there and you're going to just say, I'm better than you. Let's play. That should be the internal driving force overall. But, this, when you get to this level, it becomes a business in a sense. You got next year. You don't want to tear ACL for what? You already 3-8. I mean, like, hey, that's a young team over there. I think we're more talented. We're more physical. We're older, more experienced. We are deeper. Yeah, I could see some of the young guys like, hey, man, I don't have anything to prove. I have a team that's coming back with experience for next year. Let's get this game over with so I can go party.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we have guys with pride. We have an interim head coach with pride. It's going to prove something. So, hey, and then we can go to the freaking Bahamas.
Please.
We can enjoy. We can go out with a boom. We can get some gifts. We can go out as a family unit. And I think this team, they love each other. The players love each other. It's been disappointing, but we haven't been. We aren't a bad team. We haven't had, minus LSU. I mean, we haven't had a bad loss. We've been to every game. So I fully expect us to come out there and do our thing.
And that one word that Bryant Vincent said during his press conference today, or Monday morning, that I really liked is fight. This team has a lot of fight. UAB does, and I mean, let's like you just said, take out the LSU game. All of these other games, if just one play or two plays go another way, I mean, UAB could be sitting at a completely different record right now, other than 5-6. But I mean, this team has not quit on BV. They haven't quit on each other, so I think that they'll be ready to play. And let's just go ahead and get into our official score predictions. Darian, I have it UAB 49, Tech 17.
Ooh, 49. That's a big number. I put UAB like a 41. UAB 41, Tech 14.
Mm-hmm.
Something up in that area. It should be 41, 14, somewhere in there.
I'm telling you though, but hey, if the team doesn't come out focused and La Tech jumps up like 14-0, I mean, it could go the other
they
way.
almost beat Charlotte. I mean, we struggle with Charlotte at home, so I mean, this is a team that got close with Charlotte. They have players, they got some ballers, they have a scheme to where they can dial it up and air it out on us. We D-Mac is hurt. We got a couple of injuries. So hey, who knows? We'll see.
Definitely. Well, in just a few minutes, we'll roll our interview that we had with Evan Spencer from Go Tech Please Don't Die. But Darren, I think it's fair to our listeners if we just get into a little coaching talk. With we still got this game, hopefully a bowl game, but let's just kind of talk about the UAB football head coaching position and what we see, or what we think. I mean, I can tell you straight up right now, I haven't heard anything in a couple weeks, so I don't even have anything, other than what I think. I mean, and honestly, if I did have a good source, I wouldn't be giving it on a podcast. Now, maybe if we had like a Patreon, if we had a Patreon exclusive, maybe we would do that, and we'll look into doing that in the future. But I just want to have a few minute conversation with you, Darian, about who we think would be good candidates for this UAB job. As we said before. Excuse me, it is a very attractive job, especially in the group of five. UAB has really nice, top-notch facilities, a brand new stadium, protective stadium. UAB is heading into the American Conference next year, so you're going to be making a lot more money. You're going to having more TV exposure than you would, or that you've had previously in Conference USA. So it's going to be an extremely attractive job. And I'm sure, Mark Ingram, our athletic director, has been working the phones since, Bill Clark decided to retire all the way back in June. So he's had plenty of time. And I guess let's just discuss who we think would be good candidates. And obviously, I think we do. And I think he deserves the right to be a candidate on this list. And that's Bryant Vincent. I do think he deserves to be a candidate. This is something that Mark Ingram has said plenty of times, whether that's on with Tony Curry or on various other platforms or, radio hits, that, no matter what was going to happen this year, he was going to consider interim coach Bryant Vincent a candidate for the job. So I do seriously think that he is a candidate for this job. Now, getting BV, moving on from BV, I don't know how you feel personally and how listeners feel, but I could see former Virginia Tech coach and former Memphis coach Justin Fuente being a real possibility. And I can see current Western Kentucky coach Tyson Helton as a real possibility. And I think both of those all three of those that I mentioned, I think those would be good options. I don't think Deion's going to be coming. I've heard some UAB fans throw Deion Sanders' name around. I don't think he's going to be coming to UAB. But what do you think, Darian? Just let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll start off with BV first because I think the growth that BV has shown is important context to this. Like I said, it's been a world's difference, like in just the tempo and the amount of mistakes that the team has done, has not committed in the second half of the season. There has been a very visual, you can see the team has played, especially on offense, has played much better. He had to deal with a lot of things in the beginning. I think he just had to grow, and then dealing with Dylan going down. I think probably probably the second worst loss, or the worst loss I go back was the FAU game.
Yes.
You would want to see with the week's worth of preparation with Jacob Zeno as the head guy. You would think that we come out that game and we win it, but I think that game kind of really dampened a lot right there. But just to come out and see against UTSA that fight like that, like I didn't expect for us to be. I started thinking that we can win that game. Then when we got to overtime, I'm like, man, we can probably win, and defense couldn't get that stop in overtime. But and then just to go and smash North Texas, even having that amount of control on offense against LSU, and like the way we played the second half of the season, I think that really speaks to his growth. So I know, some fans, no matter how you feel, and I've definitely been critical, but you have to look at the context and see that this man has grown and that the players love him, and you have to really take that in.
And also, too, real quick on that, Darian, like, and we've kind of elaborated this a few episodes ago, but I mean, you gotta, like, on BV's perspective, like, you are being thrown in as a head coach. You've been a coordinator for how long? Like, and all of a sudden, your head coach is basically passing the baton off to you, and you've got a month or two to hurry up and figure out, how to be a real big time head coach, and at a program that you help, build, and you help set the expectations at UAB to be a championship program year in and year out.
Yes, being a coordinator and being a head coach are two different things, and I think one thing that probably I've seen head guys, it's possible, for head guys to, lead the offense and call the plays or whatever. I do think it would have been beneficial for him to leave that role alone this year because he had so much to learn and manage.
Yes.
The head coach. And I think that probably was a little understated. I have listened to podcasts and I have heard other head guys talk about the experience of being a head coach, being the guy going from coordinator to head coach, and all the things you have to deal with. It's another beast, and and that's going into Justin Fuente. I listened to him on the Doug Gottlieb show, and he talked about that, and he talked about his shortcomings at Virginia Tech and how he was able to build Memphis. Now, I know Justin Fuente may not be popular with some people because of what happened at Virginia Tech, and there's been rumors of how things went down at Virginia Tech. And then you got like Hendon Hooker transferring down to Tennessee. He was at Tech, and a lot of the people at Tech are like, man, this guy destroyed the program. I don't think he destroyed it, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think he made mistakes. I think it's some things that he would say he said that he could have did differently. But I'm looking at his time at Memphis and how he built Memphis into what Memphis is now, and how he was able to recruit that area. So he has ties to the South, and is a AAC program. And I think if you take what he did at Memphis and apply it to UAB, I think we have a better recruiting area. We have tons more to build off of with our facilities and the stadium than what he had at Memphis. Like, it's not close to what the starting spot to be, and then being in the AAC, getting more money. He's familiar with Southern ties, and he's proven that he can build a similar program. It makes a lot of sense, and he's kind of still of a attractive name out there, like a notified, like you will know, people know who he is,
Yes.
So what you think about that?
No, yeah, I like Fuente. Like, so, well, as you just stated, we don't know exactly 100% what went on at Virginia Tech, but I mean, let's face it, like, he was replacing a legend at Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer, that helped build that program to what it was, taking it in multiple conferences, to the Big East and into the ACC. Frank Beamer, I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best coaches in college football history. Now, that being said, I'm sure if you asked Fuente, I'm sure he would admit that he made some mistakes, and whether that was changing the culture, like 180 degrees from what Frank Beamer had it. Maybe he shouldn't have done that so quickly. And maybe that kind of did him, I guess, eventually in at Virginia Tech. But I mean, the new guy's not doing so hot either at Virginia Tech. So I just think, take away Frank Beamer. I mean, what else does Virginia Tech have? Like, I mean, it's in Blacksburg, Virginia. It's kind of a tough place to recruit. You got Virginia, you've got the North Carolinas, the Carolina schools. You've got so many talented programs in that area where it's kind of, and then you've got Maryland and DC. Like, it's not the easiest place to recruit to, but yeah, I don't know how you let Hendon Hooker get away, but I would like to hear that story one day. Yeah, so yeah. I mean, if Hooker would have stayed, I can guarantee you, Fuente would probably still be at Virginia Tech. But let's, so I'd be fine with Fuente. But let's get into Tyson Hilton. So obviously this is a name UAB fans should be familiar with. At Western Kentucky, he's been there a few years now. Obviously, UAB played Clay Helton at Georgia Southern. But Tyson Hilton, if you give him the resources that UAB has compared to what he's had at Western Kentucky, and this is not a slight at all to WKU. I know we have a couple of WKU fans that listen to us. I don't know if they listen every week, but they listen in and out sometimes. But, I mean, WKU's hanging around in Conference USA. UAB is moving up to the AAC. So UAB A will be able to offer more money than WKU was. They have better facilities than WKU does. I mean, if Helton can come in and bring the right OC in with him, then it can work, because he's already shown that he can recruit the transfer portal these last few years. But yeah, he's going to have to bring a good coordinator in. And Darian, I'll let you kind of expand on this, because we were talking earlier. I believe you said something about how he's going to have to get better about, was it high school talent, developing high school talent? No, I'll let you get into that, because I mean, I agree with you.
Well, I was saying, like, not because as a developer, he was I'm gonna be biased on this one. I played, for Coach Hilton. He was a coach here. UAB was a quarterbacks coach, and he had Brian Ellis as his quarterback, and Brian Ellis was a fantastic quarterback. I've seen what he's been able to do with him, and what he was able to do with Joe Webb. What he was able to do with a lot of quarterbacks. We had Jonathan Perry coming in and my senior year, and he was young, and he developed him. He helped him to develop a lot. So I know he's a good developer, and we've seen at Western Kentucky that he's a great portal guy. Like, he can bring in instant talent. And he was doing that at Western Kentucky. He can do that in Birmingham. He has Birmingham ties. Tyson Summers, his defensive coordinator. He was a safeties coach so I played for him. They're very cool. These guys are very likable. They're very personable. They're good guys at the core. They have good families. Kim Hilton, their father, he was an offensive coordinator at UAB under Callaway, and of course you have Clay Hilton as Georgia Southern. You got Brian Ellis, the guy that was his quarterback, sitting right there with the Birmingham ties. It's kind of they know Birmingham. Right. They stayed here for a while. They've recruited in this area. They were able to recruit in this area when it wasn't, UAB wasn't attractive. And I can tell you, when I was on campus, because I hosted a lot of these recruits, we did bring like 4-star guys on campus. And guess what? They actually liked it. They liked the vibe of the team or whatever. But at the end of the day, when we talked, they said, man, I can't commit here because of the facilities. I have been told that by big time recruits myself. And this is not something that you just hear in a rumor. They told me straight to my face, but they really love the vibe of the team, and they like the coaches. We just didn't have anything outside of that to offer them. And I agree with them, but yeah, Tyson is a guy that I believe he's shown what he can do at Western. I'm gonna be biased. I know him as a person. I know Brian Ellis. I know Brian Ellis is with Georgia Southern, but there's just a little, hope, I guess, that he would bring him with him. And then, I think he'll have to prove that he can recruit the high school guys. We've seen what he can do with the portal, but would he be able to go get those high school guys that talent? I think BV was doing a good job this year with recruiting high school and getting some good talent. We got some good bookends coming in, and hopefully those guys stay committed if BV isn't retained. So, yeah, man, I think I like Tyson. Of course, I'm biased, but he's proven what he can do at Western without the resources. So, and he's proven what he can do in the portal. So, that'll be a very, very solid hire.
Definitely. Well, I'm sure we're missing another name, but I
my personal favorite.
What's that?
Mr. Kurt Signetti.
Oh, James Madison's head coach.
James Madison. This is why this guy is like one of my personal favorites.
Sell me on him.
If we don't I encourage people to go look up his resume. This guy has been. Hold on. I have a kid that's knocking on the door. But yeah, I have been able to look up his resume, and this guy has been a winner and a program builder everywhere he's been. Everywhere, like it follows him. He's taken on difficult jobs, and he's turned them around. Look at what he's doing at James Madison right now. Those guys made the jump, and they are competing. If they didn't get hit with the injury bug, I think they'll be in the running for a championship, a game. Mm-hmm. Those guys, so he coached down at Alabama as a receivers coach. So he's coached the Julio, was that 07 through 2010. He's coached under he's been in this area now. He's a Midwest Pennsylvania guy, so a lot of his jobs are in that area. But he's been down south and he's won before. He's 61 years old. So he's in that prime sweet spot as a head coach, to where that's not, to me, if you're 61 and you take on a new job, I don't think you're going to be looking for too many other jobs after that. You're not going to be looking to see at 66 where you can go. I just don't think you will. I think you're going to, if you can build something good with the resources you have, I think you're gonna ride that thing out, but I know Coach AD Ingram talked about head coaching experience. This dude has tons of it.
Yeah, he does.
He has tons, and he comes from a football family. His father is Frank Signetti. That was coached at West Virginia. He coached all over. So he has had football all his life. He's been in collegiate football in some way, form, fashion. He's very poised. He knows how to build programs. He's done it all over. He knows how to recruit. He knows how to develop quarterbacks. Look at the numbers. Look at the places look at the jobs he's taken. He's taken some bad jobs and turned them into championship contenders. Mm-hmm. So when I looked at his resume, I looked at his age, I looked at where he's been, I looked at how he's been able to recruit, I looked at what he's been done with quarterbacks, I looked at his defenses. I'm like, this dude would be a home run, based on what we're looking for. So he's my personal favorite. I don't know if he would want to leave that Pennsylvania region, because that's just where he's from and that's what he does. But man, if we could get somebody like that with all that tons of experience as a head coach and a program builder and winning, I don't think it really asks for more.
Nice. I mean, I'm sold. One more name to throw in that hasn't been talked about a lot is Jimbo Fisher. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, we almost had him one time though, believe it or not.
Hey, you can't say this about Jimbo. Jimbo, that's name recognition, man.
Hey, exactly.
That's name. Now Texas A&M would have to pony up a hell of a lot of money for a buyout.
It was like $90 million. Yeah.
It's come on, man. I don't think you at least gotta ride it out. But one thing we know about Jimbo, he has name recognition and he can recruit his tail off. So if you can, at a program like UAB, if you can recruit and bring in some big time players, that's 75% of the job right there. You done brought in the talent. You can out talent a lot of people.
Exactly.
So
I mean, I guess one more serious name that people have thrown around is Neil Brown at West Virginia. You know, he coached at Troy for a few years, but I'm just not exactly sure that WVU is going to make the move on him. I think they want to wait at least another year. But I've heard that name, you know, from fans, you know, throwing his name around. But it was really successful at Troy, and I mean, you know, Summerall's got that going again. Where this year, they might make the Sun Belt Championship this year. So Troy,
Right.
a tough place to win, but he did it consistently. But I think that's about it for all the names as of now, and I'm sure. And maybe it's somebody on the list that we mentioned. Maybe it's somebody that we just, you know, didn't mention.
Yeah, maybe it's some like you know, Charlotte went with Biff.
Oh yeah.
You know, from Michigan. So I personally do not want to go down the coordinator route. You know, I don't want to do that. I mean, if that's the case, let's stay with BV and give him another year to do his thing. Honestly, I don't want to.
I agree.
I want a head coach, a guy that's done that, that's got that experience. I haven't seen any smoke about him, so we didn't mention him, but I like Womack down at South Alabama, what he's been able to do with that program. And
yeah, he's done a good job.
Yeah, and he of course he knows the area. He's in South, and we recruit in that area a ton. So you know, I think he would be a good guy to look at. He's young. He'll be a good guy to look at. But you know, I do think BB deserves consideration because of his growth. And another thing, one more thing I want to address is like for anybody that think this is like disrespectful for us to be talking about this while BB is coaching. Well, people don't need to be talking about it. Period. Then the freaking AD talks about it.
Exactly, and has been open about it since before the season even started. So
yes, it's a sign of respect. So I'm not gonna act like I'm not talking about it. If I'm a friend, if I'm your friend, I'm not gonna go behind your back and be like, man, John shouldn't be hired at this job. I really don't have any confidence in, just talk noise about you and then come in your face and just like, oh man, hey, no. You tell somebody respectfully, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why, and that's how you show people respect. So if they have any questions on how you feel, anything, you can respectfully, tell them to their face if you really respect them as a man. And
exactly.
That's what you should do. That's the right way to do it.
100% agree. Well, all right, guys. Well, we will be back next time to recap what happens down in Ruston against the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. But without further ado, we will go ahead and roll our interview that we had with Evan Spencer. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast, where we are pleased to be joined by Evan Spencer of Go Tech Please Don't Die and also Bleed Tech Blue. Evan, welcome back to the show again this year, bud. We had you on last year and you did such a great job. We wanted to have you on again this year.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And before we get started, guys, if you are not following Evan on Twitter, go ahead and give him a follow at Evan R. Spencer. And also go ahead and give Go Tech Please Don't Die a follow on Twitter, and that is at Go Tech PLSDNTDIE. So Evan, let's just get right into it. What has gone wrong with Louisiana Tech this year? I mean, I know there's a coaching change, with Sonny Cumbie coming in. So obviously you've got a whole different, offensive philosophy, from what Skip Holtz had it the last, 5 or 6 years, however long he was there. But I mean, is that the only reason why this team seems to just struggle? Because on paper, they've been in a bunch of their ball games. It just hasn't seemed to gone their way.
Hey, John just skipped all formalities. He was like, hey, girl, why do you guys suck?
I figured we'd just get into it.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, that's fair. And I think a big part of, what's gone wrong with this season for me personally is the fact that I allowed myself to have high expectations or any expectations at all for success in year one of a totally new system, new coach, with big questions at the quarterback position coming into the season. What ended up being big questions at the defensive, a lot of defensive positions like defensive line, The secondary has been, I think, better than anticipated, but that's about the only unit you could say that for on the entire team. So I think it's just been a lot of, there's been growing pains from the new coach, certainly, but, the injury bug, the fact that, we're dealing with the sort of transition period where you still got a lot of skip guys and you don't have a lot of comby guys, right? But, it's at the end of the day, we could be sitting here looking at a bowl eligibility bash here, but we've lost a bunch of games that we probably should have won, and I guess that's where I'm at right now. I mean, we're just a bad football team, and it kind of sucks because you can see flashes of a good football team in there occasionally, but just not good enough to get it done for 60 minutes.
What was the reason for the optimism in the beginning of the year?
Oh, just just being a fan, right? I mean,
right.
If you're a Tech fan, as I am from when I went to school about 10 to 12 years ago during the Sonny Dykes era, I got to experience this high octane offense. And then we went to Skip Holtz, who's a lot more conservative in certain ways. And, that won us a lot of football games, had us in the conversation for really his entire run until last year. I think like hearing, oh, this new coach is like an air raid guy. He's he comes from the Mike Leach coaching tree. He's like been at Texas Tech and TCU doing great things with the offense. So you just automatically think like, okay, we're going to get that year one. And like I said, we've seen a few stretches of that, and it's not like we've been terrible offensively. I think if you look at most of the like stats, whether advanced or standard stats, we're pretty much middle of the pack in FBS in a lot of those categories. But it's just a consistency, and you'll do something like throw 4 interceptions against South Alabama and just get smoked by them on the road, right? And then then you have your bye week, you come back and you beat the hell out of UTEP, and then you lose to FIU in double overtime. It's just one of those years where like I think the optimism was just because we talked ourselves into it, but then you really have seen stretches of football where you could buy like, hey, this might be a 7-5 team at the end of the year, and then you've seen stretches where it's like, man, we might be lucky to have 3 wins. So yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Darren, like, I'm sure we have a lot of Louisiana Tech fans listening in. UAB had extremely high expectations, heading into this year, and UAB's fell short of those expectations. So we definitely, can sympathize with Louisiana Tech fans. And also, it seems kind of weird, though, too, that, part of the reason why I think Louisiana Tech has struggled as well is just they've been bitten by the injury bug, especially at the quarterback position. And I know Liddy is, he is going to be a great quarterback in the future for Louisiana Tech, but having him kind of thrown into the fire, and I mean, it's kind of just like, Darian, how we kind of had to throw Jacob Zeno into the fire,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then also with that, I'm hearing is a tale of cautionary for, UAB fans, because I know a lot of times we get upset at the conservative play style that we tend to do a lot, run the ball, good defense, play action. But, just hearing Evan say like, hey, the optimism seemed to come from, hey, we got this air raid guy, we're going to open it up. But we tired of the conservatism, right? And it's just a little tale of caution right there. Say, hey, man, it's still football. You still have to execute. And you have to hopefully remain healthy for the season to have the players to execute.
Yeah, for sure. And John, you mentioned Landry Liddy is going to be a great quarterback. I think that's where we're kind of at right now is like, yeah, he's going to be great. We can see that he's got a higher completion percentage than Parker McNeil, the next, the original sort of starter for most of the season, 10% higher than McNeil on completions, but like it's just not there yet in terms of like making the right decision. He's a true freshman, right? He just turned 19 last Sunday, so like it's hard to criticize him. We were debating ad nauseum on our show, like, oh, should we just should we burn the red shirt? Should we not burn the red shirt? Then, you got into a situation where like, okay, Landry Liddy's the only scholarship quarterback on the roster who's not injured. Wow. So we better just burn the red shirt. And, I think that's good because he'll have more game reps going into next year where he should be sort of the guy. But yeah, it's certainly not there yet. I mean, he came into the Rice game. I don't know if y'all caught any of this, but Parker McNeil got hurt early in the game. Matthew Downing, the second string guy, got hurt with like 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And Liddy comes in, and my wife and I were in the stands, and Catherine has she's not super plugged into tech, but she had asked like, hey, who's the third string quarterback, because this second string guy is not really getting it done. And I said, oh, it's this true freshman, he's supposed to be really good, but he's a true freshman or whatever. And she was like, well, why don't they just put him in if he's better? And then he comes in and just drops like 3 straight dimes to tie the ball game, basically as time expires, and ended up having one bad throw in that game, which was on the 2-point conversion when we went for the win instead of going for the tie there in overtime. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be great. And I think that he's shown some real like poise in the pocket. He's shown that he's very accurate. It's just sometimes with the decision making of like, against UTSA a couple weeks ago, like just, throwing the ball into triple coverage. And it's like, dude, you could have taken that sack, or, you could have just thrown it away at the guy's feet. But instead you like basically gave them an easy tip drill. But that's a game we didn't even recap on our show because it was so bad we didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I understand that. But hey, also, Evan, though, what doesn't help Liddy is, I mean, this offensive line looks like they've given up, is it 29 sacks? Like,
oh Lord.
I mean, is that just inexperience, or did they have injuries up front, or what do you attest that offensive line play to? Because that does not sound good.
Yeah, so that's actually that's surprising, that stat to me, that 29 number. I think they've gotten a lot better lately. So I don't have those numbers in front of me like game by game, but if we had that up, like Liddy's only been sacked 5 times and he's been.
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm looking at McNeil was sacked 16 times. So if you take 16, it's only 13 since then.
And some of that is McNeil's play style. Like he really is a guy that's going to throw the ball downfield. So like he's, for whatever reason, he's just not very accurate in that like 0 to 20 yard window. He's much more accurate downfield, which is just strange. But so he holds the ball a little longer and he's not super mobile in the pocket. So it doesn't surprise me to see that he got sacked a little more. But I know the like PFF numbers the last like 3-4 games have been really encouraging for the offensive line. And a lot of those guys are young. And really our whole team is young. We've got like four starters on both sides of the ball that are seniors and won't be back next year. So, I'm just talking myself into next season being optimistic again, I guess.
Well, another good thing, though, is that you guys still have Smoke Harris. And I feel like Smoke Harris has been there for like 4 years now. I'm looking at, he looks like he's a junior. I mean, it's great to see. It looks like he's got 61 catches, 5 TDs. So it looks like Sonny Cumbie's kind of getting him more involved in the offense this year. Would you say that? Or
yeah. One of the things that they've talked about a lot is like finding creative ways to get him involved. And that, I think, is where you've seen like that excitement about it being an air raid guy or a offensive guru type coach has really paid off, because they're doing things like, running like the swinging gate play with Smoke Harris, like lining up with 3 offensive linemen out by the boundary and then, running like a speed sweep to him. Just weird shit, Oh, sorry. I don't know if you curse on your show or not, but
it's fine.
Yeah, weird stuff that, that's like, oh, that's crazy. Like, and it kind of worked. I mean, Smoke, I think this year has, he's got 61 catches, leads the team. But he's also had a lot more drops. I think he's like doubled his drop number from the previous 3 years. So like he had 9 drops coming into this season, and he's had at least 9 so far this season. So I don't know what's going on there, maybe an injury or something, but Really, Trey Harris has been our sort of go-to guy. He had the number one play on SportsCenter Top 10 a couple weeks ago, just like a crazy one-handed catch. And yeah, I mean, the passing game has been pretty good, honestly, throughout the season. Like, we put up yards against Clemson, we put up yards against Mizzou. It just, you know, it's not like the passing game has been lacking. It's just, you know, there's just been a lot of inconsistency with the run game, especially, but then also with some play calling stuff too. So a lot of like first year coach growing pains, I think.
Yeah, defensively, I heard you mention the D line. What's been going on there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we don't have a dude, if you will. Like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but that was it the 2020 game, UAB Tech? Yeah, because it was in Ruston.
Double overtime, yeah.
Yeah, y'all were just running the ball, like flattening us, running the ball in that second half. Like, I think you had like 200 yards in like a 15-minute span from like 10 minutes left in the third to 10 minutes left in the fourth. And then Milton Williams just like decided that he was tired of it, and he literally just after like a routine stop, like started just like talking smack, like hitting himself on the helmet, like trying to hype up his guys, right? And like we don't have a guy on our team who's gonna like do that, really. Like, if you look at our sack numbers, I mean, yeah, Jaden Cole, the safety, is leading the team with 3.5 sacks. Like, we don't have Jalen Ferguson, right? May he rest in peace. Like, we just don't have a guy who's gonna, you know, cause disruption. And you know, that's really hurt, especially like, you know, when it comes to cycling guys into the secondary, and we've dealt with a lot of injuries back there as well. But you know, we've got a couple of really good corners, but then after that, it's not so great. So, you know, the fact that we're not really able to generate pressure as a team and as a defensive line, especially, is really hurting our defense.
Yeah, we really don't have the standout guy on defense as well, right? But we play pretty good team defense. I wonder if there's something like, is your play style of defense, is it conservative? Is it aggressive? Because we play a conservative style that kind of works for us because we utilize the sum of our parts. Is it just not enough guys on the defense overall to do that?
And also just piggybacking on what Darian said, Evan, do you think it could attribute to the offensive philosophy? Because, you know, you tend to see a lot of air raid teams have a not so good, you know, I mean, not, I guess that's a bad way to say it, but an average defense, I guess. Like, you never see an air raid team have an elite defense, I guess.
Right. In 2012, Tech had the number one offense in the nation, and the defense was number whatever the last place team was that year. We've added some FBS teams since then, but like 127 or whatever. And it was simply because we were scoring touchdowns so fast, you know, that the defense could not like catch their breath. Right. So I definitely know what you mean there. To answer your question about the defensive philosophy, I think part of the problem is that I don't really know how to answer that question. Like, it just seems like at times we're completely lost in terms of, you know, like if you look back at that North Texas game, we allowed 475 yards of rushing.
Yeah.
Like, just on the ground. And I was there in person, and I still cannot tell you, you know, how like how mad I was getting just like sitting there looking at like, okay, they're backed up to the 7-yard line. Here comes a 93-yard touchdown. Oh, yep, there it is. Before I could even finish the sentence, like, it's just like, I don't know if the guys weren't in alignment. I don't know what, but you know, it feels like a lot of it is honestly like we just don't have the personnel. And so like my co-host on Go Tech Please Don't Die, Matt, wants to like run the whole defensive coaching staff out of town after this first year. And you know, I kind of give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and just say, like, you know, I don't know what they had to work with really,
right.
Coming in. And we have dealt with a lot of injuries, but, you know, I think we'll run some blitzes. But I mean, if we're looking at like keys to this game, y'all just need to run the football. Like, you got the best running back in the country, right? In terms of yards. Is that right?
I think he's second now, but yeah, he's definitely up there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think if I remember correctly, that game in 2020 that I mentioned was kind of his. It's Dwayne McBride, right? His coming out party.
It was his coming out party. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if I'm him, I'm like looking back at tape of that game and saying like, I'm gonna double that, whatever he did in that game.
Jesus.
I think he had like 200 yards. So please don't do that.
Yeah, we have two guys back there that can really, really tote the rock, but we have a quarterback I feel like that's really been coming on. So I'm curious to see. I feel like this is a rather opportunistic game to like be able to show some of those chops. But I heard you say the offensive line has been coming on as of late. What about, has the defense shown any improvement as of late?
Yeah, I think if you look to our last win, which is, feels like forever ago, but it wasn't that long ago, actually. It was, Middle Tennessee on November 5th. It was kind of a back and forth game in the first half. And then in the third quarter, I think we forced 4 turnovers and blocked a punt. So, we have some, like I said, we have some really good DBs. So if you're going to throw like a 50-50 ball, Miles Brooks, he doesn't have a ton of interceptions on the season, but he's got a lot of pass breakups. He's a guy to really look out for, I think in terms of, I personally think he needs another year, but he could be the next like La Tech mid-round draft pick from that defensive backfield. Again, I would tell him to wait a year, but I also benefit from that, I guess. And then Willie Roberts as well. Those guys both came in from SFA with our defensive coordinator, so they may have had a leg up kind of understanding his scheme. But yeah, I think like but that game, that Middle Tennessee game, it's kind of hard to hold that up as an example because it's kind of an anomaly, right? Then we went and got smoked by UTSA, which I think everyone expected. But this last game at Charlotte, if the defense can force a couple turnovers, we're going to win that game pretty easily. But they just couldn't get it done, and they allowed some nobody to average 10 yards a carry.
And 3 touchdowns. Golly, yeah. I never even heard of the guy before.
Right, yeah. So basically, at this point, like if you want to be known in CUSA as a running back, like just circle La Tech on your schedule and you'll get it done. So yeah, I mean, I had a question for y'all though. I'm seeing, y'all are favored by like 17.5 points or whatever, but which isn't surprising. We're very bad, and y'all seem like you're pretty good, but like with some inconsistency issues, I guess. But I'm looking here, you're 5-6 on the year, and that's 0-5 on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
It's just like La Tech.
Yeah,
wait, La Tech won on the road once, didn't they?
No, we are 0-7 on the road. We haven't won on the road since North Texas in 2020.
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty rough. So what's different like about y'all on the road?
Man, Darren, do you want to take this or?
Well, I can say that a lot of the games early on that we played on the road, I feel like Brian Vincent, the interim head coach, I feel like he's grown over the years. We played a lot of our games on the road early, and we had a lot of mistakes, especially Rice. That game was just ridiculous with penalties and whatever mistake you can think of, we did against Rice, and we basically gave them that game. In Liberty, we put the ball on the ground 4 times. You can't do that against a good team. So he's grown a lot. He's gotten a lot better over time. And then when we lost to WKU, of course, Dylan went down, our starting quarterback, and then we had FAU, and Dylan wasn't back again. But I still feel like that FAU game was probably one of the worst games that we played this year. Even with Jacob Zeno playing, I feel like we should have won that game. But we had some. I just think that early on that we. He was still young, and he was making some, as young as a head coach, and he was still making some questionable calls. And then, we had Dylan go down. I think we would have handed it to WKU and FAU with Dylan. But, so we've had the UTSA game, and we've had North Texas, and we've had a lot of those games at home, and he has been so much better these last couple of games coaching. Like, it's noticeable. So I just think the schedule didn't do him any favors, honestly. So I go into this game with confidence. We're pretty healthy. I mean, at least we are healthy at quarterback, which is the most important position. So I go into this one with confidence. I don't expect those same silly mistakes that we did early on.
And
yeah, I think that's been one of the most frustrating things for us is that it, like we are more than willing to accept like some early season like gaffes by the first time head coach, right? He was interim coach at Texas Tech last year, Sonny Cumbie, but only for a few games, and this is his first time like leading a program. And I think the problem that we're having is that some of this stuff is like, and maybe it hasn't gotten worse. It just feels like it's gotten worse because when you're losing to a program like FIU, when you're losing to a program like Charlotte, and it's like, man, why are we going for it on 4th and 3 from our own 35 when we're up 4 points in the third quarter? Like, it just doesn't make sense, like, and then he's scared. Like, we didn't get that one. And so then in the fourth quarter, when we're up 3 points and we're on plus territory, he decides to punt instead of go for it. And it's like, but this one was 4th and 2. And if we get it, we almost certainly win the game. And like the one you went for before, even if we get it, we could end up punting 3 plays later anyway. So like, anyway?
Did this happen early in the year, or
that was the FIU game on October 28th? So like later than you'd want it to.
Okay, yeah.
And then I mean, you certainly can't say that the UTSA loss was anything other than like a total failure by everyone involved for us. But the Charlotte game, like, I don't know. To me, there's just not really much of an excuse you can make for losing to Charlotte. Like, it's Charlotte, and we just went out and we just didn't look good, not good enough to win. So I don't know if it's a preparation thing or what, but I guess my saving grace is that we're currently 3-1 at home.
Right.
So I guess that's something.
Yeah.
And y'all are 0-5, so maybe these bettors are all wrong and we're gonna pull it off. But yeah,
hey, it's a possibility. We haven't proven that we can win on the road yet. So granted, though, none of those losses were by 7. It was all 7 points or less. Like, it was all very close games, and a lot of those games we should have won. I just think that interim coach.
Except for LSU. Take out the LSU.
Minus that. I kind of forgot about that game. Well, the first quarter I was kind of proud, but yeah, take out LSU.
And Evan, I was just going to say too, like, for Louisiana Tech fans listening, Louisiana Tech is at home, where Evan just mentioned they're 3-1 at home. But you look at those 3 wins that La Tech has had at home. Middle Tennessee forced 5 turnovers. UTEP forced 4 turnovers. Stephen F. Austin forced 3 turnovers. And UAB's gotten better as of late of not turning the ball over as much. But you look at the Liberty game early on in the year where UAB had 4 fumbles. Like, if you can force UAB into some kind of boneheaded mistakes, I mean, it would not surprise me to the least, because I personally think this is either going to be a blowout in UAB's favor or a straight up La Tech win. I don't think there's an in between. I just want to know which team wants to show up for this ball game. Like, has La Tech already packed it in? 3-8, whatever. Has UAB already packed it in? Yeah, there's a bowl game to play for, but I mean, when you're used to competing for conference championships, I mean, is it the will to want to go to a bowl game? I would think so, but I mean, you just don't ever know.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you saying that there's a chance we might win. Just judging y'all by, what you're best at, which I think I'm safe in assuming is the run offense. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, we're I think, are we still dead last in run defense? Let me check real quick. No, we're 130 out of 131 now. So
there you go.
Let me hold my tongue there. We're not the worst. We've been the worst all year until this week, though, I believe. So, Dwayne McBride's going to go for 200. I just don't see how we're going to stop him. He's going to be back in that number 1 spot. And I don't think our offense with Landry Liddy, with the freshman sort of mistakes that he's been, not necessarily like making all the time, but it's just he's not going to be good enough to keep up. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking at y'all's stats right now. I mean, years past, your defense was like top 10, but your offense was like 80th or 90th, I feel like. And now it's like, no, you're just kind of good at both. Like total offense number 36 and total defense number 46. Like, how have y'all lost so many games? That's what I'm wondering.
Close. They're all close games, minus LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, lose the UTSA in overtime. We actually went up in overtime, and we, four fumbles.
I watched the end of that one.
Yeah, I mean, we were a good team. We got a load. We have a really good personnel. It's just we had a young head coach, and he was figuring it out. And I don't think that was just the best position for him. But yeah, as of these, even the first, I mean, we just couldn't personnel wise, we couldn't match up with LSU. Our defense couldn't do nothing with their offense. But I like what we did. We gave ourselves a chance in the first quarter, the first half. I felt like until we just lost the range due to talent. But he still coached a pretty solid game. So I'm curious to see in this game on the road. This is the last chance to prove that he can win on the road. I think he should be able to put it together, because if I was La Tech, I would just crowd the box and just say, hey, throw the ball. But I think we can throw the ball down. We've proven that. So yeah, that's what I would do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, run the ball till we show you that we're going to stop you for less than 10 yards, honestly. Because I don't know that we will. We've given up. We've had a couple of games this year where the average after the game was 12 yards a carry. And it's how is this possible?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think y'all are going to win something I don't know, probably 34-10 or something. I think we're good enough to put some points on the board, but I just don't think it's going to be a close game at all. We're playing for next year. Y'all have that bowl bid on the table, so you at least have something in the locker room to say hey, y'all might get a trip to the Bahamas out of this, right? If we win this game against this sorry program, where there's going to be 12 people at the game suffering in cold, probably rain, who knows? But I think, nothing that I've seen from my team has, inspired me to try to pick them here at this point in the year, having gone, 1-5 in our last few games. So I guess y'all haven't done too well in your last 5. You're 1-4, but but you've been playing better teams than us. So.
Well, the guys over at Go Tech Please Don't Die, including Evan, will be giving their official score prediction on their podcast. So Blazer fans, definitely give Go Tech Please Don't Die a listen. Evan, one more question before I let you go. So, the USFL had their first season back this past year. And how weird was it for you to see Skip Holtz coaching the Birmingham Stallions, and not only coaching the Birmingham Stallions, but leading them to a USFL championship?
To a championship, right? What he could never do for us. Well, I'll turn that around on you. How weird was it for you to have to cheer for the hometown boy, Jamar Smith, Adrian Hardy? There were 6 La Tech players. There were UAB fans on Twitter who were mad every time they announced a new La Tech signee.
Yes, oh, it was so weird.
I mean, worlds colliding, right? It was weird but it was also fun and good for our Twitter shtick to be able to, tweet out stuff about Skip in the middle of the summer. Dust off the old meme folder.
Yes. The old Dairy Queen ice cream meme.
Yeah, they haven't been doing that at the games this year. Maybe that's the problem. We got to bring that back.
There you go.
But yeah, and I want to say too, I mean, I know Tech and UAB have had beef in the past, and the fan bases have kind of gotten a little rivalry going. But honestly, y'all's fan base, I'm gonna miss, right? I'm gonna miss talking trash with you guys on Twitter, and And because y'all like, there are some fan bases that don't get it,
Right.
and y'all's fan base for the most part seems to get it, right? Seems to understand that like, hey, like we're all here like supporting our teams and it's cool. There are some fan bases in this conference that I'm not going to miss, one of which is already gone and another of which is leaving with y'all.
Say them. Say it. Say it.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, of course. Southern Miss.
So,
yes, thank you.
Those people just do not. They're just not fun to talk to, man.
Those mustard buzzards, I tell you.
Yeah. And then the other one is UTSA. They just grind. They just, I don't know. They just get under my skin in a way that's like not good for them. It's just like they're just so annoying and they're like. I don't know.
I like UTSA. Like the fans, they seem pretty.
I will never cheer for them. Straight up, they're leaving our conference. I'll cheer for y'all over them next year. Straight up.
Wow.
I'm being honest. I just don't like them.
Well, Evan, if it was up to me, I would leave Rice in Conference USA and either bring Louisiana Tech or WKU up with us. But for some reason, they thought Rice, I guess the money, that's a reason they're bringing them up. But I feel like we don't ever see any Rice fans on Twitter. I don't think any Rice fans, except for the Roost. Except for the Roost. Shout out to Yes.
Yeah, get some of this intellectual brutality.
I think the ideal thing would have been for us in Western to go instead of Charlotte and Rice, but they went for market size, which is exactly what CUSA did, which I find hilarious because that experiment definitely did not work for CUSA. But and then obviously some programs that make sense. Like it obviously makes sense for UTSA to go. They're on the rise in most things. They're in a very unique situation, which is like they're the only college sports really in a huge city. Like San Antonio is huge.
Yeah,
it's like a top 10 city in the country or something like that. So, and obviously y'all make sense as well. I'm not blind to that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was not a fun few months last year when all that was unfolding. But we'll make do with what we got, and we'll go 3-9 next year in our new crappy conference instead of this, current crappy one. So it's all good.
Hey, well, you've got Liberty coming in.
Yeah, that's true. Liberty will go win 5 straight conference titles and then get invited to the Big 12 or something like that. So
would not surprise me at all. Well, Evan, it's been a pleasure again this year. Gonna miss playing you guys. Hopefully UAB and La Tech can work out something in the future to keep playing.
Especially in basketball. So
yes, no doubt.
I think mid-majors got to stick together in basketball for sure. So
yeah, true.
Although, I guess this is Jelly Walker's last year, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He'll go pro after this. Yeah.
Get that guy out of here, man.
Well, I'm just glad Lofton's gone.
Yeah. Hey, we're all proud of. I hope you guys are proud of him too, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, I loved watching him play.
With the Grizzlies. Yeah, he put in work. I like, especially this preseason. He was going to town.
He is dominating the G League right now. We're actually, my wife and I are actually hoping that he. Well, we're not hoping that he doesn't get called up, but he'll be playing like 30 minutes from where we live on December 10th if he doesn't get called up.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So like courtside seats are like $20. So we would for the G League. So we would love to see that, but hopefully he'll get called up to the Grizzlies and actually get some minutes this time. But anyway, basketball season should be fun. We're playing right now, but and I guess y'all are playing right now too.
We got the dub. Yeah, we already got the dub.
Nice.
So
yeah, we lost to ULL last week, but beating ULM right now, so we'll get
there
one.
You go.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course, no problem. And hey, Darren, you want to go ahead and close us out, buddy?
Laser Nation, let's ride.